After freezing Bert in carbonite and hanging him on the wall, Bert and Ernie refuse to give up their favorite decoration. They like Bert where he is. Bert suddenly remembered that he left his hella dope mixtape in a warehouse in Beirut. Grover started to grow freaks to give, but they're not ready yet. After the second tab of LSD, Bert begins to read the text above him. Ernie shows Ethan why his parents got divorced. As his pupils dilate and his heart pounds, Bert begins to realize that Ernie replaced his anxiety medication with ecstasy. Bert struggles to hold up the dead prostitute. Hearing a knock from the basement, Bert realizes that 2 shots wasn't enough to kill him. Cookie Monster screams in horror as Elmo's trip on bath salts takes a turn for the worse. After strangling a young prostitute to death, Bert begins dry heaving and Ernie tries to calm him down. Bert locks Bert in the bathroom with half a dozen open bottles of drain cleaner and hopes for the best. Ernie wonders if Bert's anus is up to the challenge. Their LSD trip was not starting out well. Ernie managed to lose his nose and Bert has spent the last 3 hours staring at an empty light socket. Bert doesn't mind that Ernie stays up all night reading Holocaust memoirs. He just wishes he wouldn't frap so loudly while doing so. Ernie enjoys finding new ways to trigger Bert's Vietnam flashbacks. Bert couldn't hide his erection after Ernie showed him his erotic stamp collection. Elmo was impressed by how long his victim has survived without his skin. After downing a 12-pack of beer, Big Bird stumbles on camera and proceeds to rant about the government's lies. Ernie watches in ecstasy as Cookie Monster slips on the greased-up step, sending him tumbling down multiple flights and paralyzing him from the neck down. After defeating Ganon, Grover kept the Triforce of Power and plunged all of Sesame Street into darkness. Grover and Kermit realize their disguises are inadequate as they run into each other at the gay bathhouse. Kermit exacts his revenge by dropping a whole-ass piano from the top of the Chrysler building right onto Grover's freaking nutsack. Cookie Monster's dream of being an Uber driver is quickly shattered by the realization that everyone in his row lives on the same freaking street. Cookie Monster happily helped preparing the birthday cake for Ernie's girlfriend until he saw the number of candles on it. Hearing the sirens in the distance, Ernie knows he can hide the body or defile the corpse, but not both. Big Bird checks up on his inferior human slaves doing a horrible job. Oh, he's going to beat the crap out of them tonight. Big Bird's life flashes before his eyes as he notices another white phosphorus round aimed a lot closer to his location, soaring through the sky. Driven by hunger, Big Bird stalks his next meal. For mocking his people's slavery under the pharaohs, the Count uses his voodoo sorcery to directly attack Bird's credit score. Kermit was supposed to teach the kids the alphabet, but he quickly began ranting about crime statistics after hitting a certain letter. The children are fast, but Big Bird is faster. They never had the chance. What happened in 1845? That's not the year, that's his kill streak. This is what happens to snitches, Ernie suddenly shouted. The last thing Bert ever saw was his own blood spraying across the mirror. I've been staring at this glory hole for 10 freaking minutes. Where the hell is everybody? I know recess isn't over yet. Cookie Monster achieves the nirvana of keeping his cutting-edge computer cool while getting high off the cool one simultaneously. The children are speechless as Big Bird shows them his collection of lewd photos. They never imagined that a rectum could be stretched that far. Bird has sustained his erection for 30 minutes, jerking himself off to faces of death while he lets Ernie watch. Bert nibbles on Ernie's ear. The Count whispers, "Today's number is 69. Bert knew he shouldn't have trusted that fart. Kermit steals the National Geographic logo and took it on the freeway above. Ernie stares in disbelief at Ernie, who is wearing his used condoms as earnings. At first, Cookie Monster was confused why he was sent to hell by God, but then he realized that the sinners had all been turned into cookies. He wasn't being punished. He was the punishment. Elmo admires the trophies from his latest massacre. Oscar wonders what would be more fun. Should he call the police and say there's a bomb at the airport, or keep it a surprise? Dr. Cookie is unsettled on how to talk to Ernie about the apple he just removed from his rectum. That was amazing, Jason. I've never heard of an accurate rendition of several cats getting run over by a lawnmower. After a violent night of fisting, Ernie inhales the pungent aroma of his own insides. It was not the first time the Cookie Monster had feasted on human flesh, but it was the most arousing. Big Bird pretends to show remorse for the random house fire that happened last night. After growing tired of Bert screaming, Ernie introduces his partner to chloroform. No, you go back down there. I paid for three orgasms. Bert howls as the apartment's poltergeist suddenly and without warning prolapses Bert's anus. Here's your stairs to heaven. Those steps are your sins, Grover. All 1,048,576 of them. You think yours is long? Wait till you've seen mine. Having stolen the Infinity Gauntlet, Ernie snaps his fingers in front of Cookie Monster, erasing the blue before he mastered out of existence. Hey Bert, do you feel a little different after our visit to the Chernobyl exclusion zone? Ernie asked. Well, now that you mention it, a little tingly. Bert unexpectedly walks in on Ernie aggressively masturbating in the tub and silently masturbates along with him. While the Cyclops Monster Girl Hunter cosplay may not have gone as well as what is hoped, they didn't stop Ernie from furiously masturbating in front of Bert. Ernie, stick that banana back in your ass. The animal road trip is off to a great start. The Muppets learn that xenomorphs are real when one of them explodes out of Piggy's anus. The boys realize they're in for a treat after their new little friend mentioned, I've never had all three holes stuffed in once. Kelly and Rosita watch in delight as gullible DeviantArt users spread their fake hacker alert chain letter. A frog could piss on an electric fence while a cat licked his asshole, for instance. In order to leave the dungeon, Cookie Monster makes his hardest decision ever. Pull the red lever, all his friends die. Pull the green lever, his entire family dies. Pull the blue lever, only he dies. Struggling to make a single choice, he slides his entire arm above so he can pull all three. Ernie laughs cruelly as he gives Bert a buzz cut to purposely trigger his Vietnam PTSD. Ernie exclaims loudly as Bert bangs towards the city's airspace. Kelly meticulously examined his newest invention, the double-ending vibrating dildo for design flaws. As far as he was concerned, that Nobel Prize was already in the bag. Cookie Monster hopes God will forgive him for his crime. Just under 15 seconds might be satisfying for Grover, but Prairie Dawn is seriously disappointed. Elmo wasn't lying when he told Kermit his cousin could give him one hell of a blowjob. Ernie, get the dart gun and duct tape. I think Bort found his way out of the basement. You motherfreakers can all drown, shouts Oscar as his only home begins to float in the historic flood thanks to his years of garbage buildup, effectively waterproofing his can. Using some wire, a broken radio, a nuclear bomb, 2 packets of ramen, and some Elmer's glue, Kermit builds a nuclear bomb. Kermit holds Big Bird's 4 children hostage and warns him that if he doesn't pay the 500,000 ransom, a certain frog's gonna be feasting on the best goddamn omelet ever made. After hacking into Clinton's email, Elmo has seen more than he ever needed to know. Grover's neck snaps violently as the other Muppets continue their demonic chants. Elmo's the only one who stands horrified as the group watches Elmo's sister shove several softballs up her ass. Elmo knew that his sexual addiction was taking a severe toll on his body as he shoved another firecracker inside his anus and lit the fuse. The searing pain was ethereal, almost cosmic. The orgasms were back-breakingly powerful. Having wrung every last drop of pressure from his fleshy person, he needed to let it heal. But first, one final teeth-shattering orgasm as he cautioned the wounds. Bert confesses to a rubber duck his plan to set fire to an orphanage. Bert looks at Ernie in disbelief as the laxatives that were slipped into his ice cream kick in. There was nothing Ernie could do now. Bert has become one with the prophecy. The apocalypse has begun! When Elmo's urine sample begins to sing about the importance of drinking water, he realizes that the coke he got from Tampa was probably less than 100% pure. Kelly couldn't believe his luck. They actually set up the first strip club on Sesame Street. Ernie unknowingly utters the trigger phrase, awakening Bert as a Viet Cong sleeper agent. Ernie laughs hysterically as Bert finds out his cancer has spread. Elmo flees his fellow Bloods in a quick getaway after a successful drive-by shooting. Ernie prepares to stick Bert's nose up his ass, much to Bert's dismay. Bert smirks as he hears the air raid sirens. Ernie's war had begun at last! Ernie ridicules Bert about his birth defects. After forcing Elmo into a meat grinder, Grover and Roberto reanimate him by sculpting his pulverized remains into his old shape. This poor abomination couldn't move or speak, but Grover finds out that if you lean in close enough, you can hear the faint sound of Elmo's tortured soul screaming out of his half-open mouth. Ignoring the advice of their sensei, Bert and Ernie used their karate skills to beat up the homeless. It was then Sarah realized what Elmo meant about giving her the letter of the day. Big Bird sees no other way to settle their dispute other than with a duel to the death. If I can have her, no one can. Science. The human body needs 8 hours of sleep to function properly. Me on 3 hours of sleep. Rewrite it down, Meeches! Strung out on synthetic marijuana, Tully attacked Elmo and started eating him alive. Trapped in purgatory, Elmo's soul screams into the lonely void. Yeah, rub it harder, Snuffy moaned. Meanwhile, Big Bird tried to mentally escape the situation by thinking about the $50. He so desperately needed to feed his family. Bert questions Ernie's brash knuckles, but does not try to stop him beating the innocent children. Grover mocks Mr. Johnson by dressing up as his dead wife. Ernie's constant screaming made Bert remember the sound of the burning children. The doctors share a hearty laugh when they reveal to Mr. Johnson that he is actually on a prank show, and that he isn't going to receive any heart transplant today. Ernie negotiates with the parents of the kidnapped child, while Bert listens for the police sirens. After surviving the explosion of his meth lab, Big Bird threatens the neighbors that they saw nothing. Ernie furiously rushes from just inches away. Bert finds it difficult to enjoy his book. The fresh smell of cinnamon awakes Bert when Ernie finishes his masterpiece. Ernie, God of Torment, has trapped his friends in 4 different dimensions, giving them to a lifetime of isolation and madness. I'm not doing that voice anymore. While Bert is tricking Bort to take a bath, Ernie is looking for the hair dryer. Bert can't believe Ernie just sat on the book he was reading. Elmo pays a group of hackers to hack into Tumblr servers and change every TR tune in. Scooter throws a landmine in front of the school bus. A drunken Grover confronts his reflection after he told him that he freaked his mom. Once Ernie and Big Bird started laughing, Bert realizing that chopping his Duke off for $10 might not have been a good idea. Ernie covered his eyes as Bert screamed, "Hail Satan!" and plunged the knife into the child's back. Elmo becomes increasingly more worried as the furries start to form a circle around him. Elmo is surprised to see a dead hooker in the trash can. As the Serbian film concludes and the human centipede first sequence starts, the Muppets wonder why they agreed to movie night with Ernie. Ernie's face is in pain after Cookie Monster puts acid in Ernie's eyes. Then Cookie Monster takes Ernie's Tylenol pill.
The Roofies has kicked in.
Bert demonstrates how to fix your pregnant girlfriend with the paperclip. Potty Mouth secretly plans to reference JoJo on live TV. Nightbrace and Charles think he's going to say the N-word. After realizing that his BDSM session went too far, Bear tries to get Tutter and both Pip and Pop out of his boot. Holy crap, timing on the music! Fox News reporter Kermit was just talking about the hate-driven riots plaguing the streets until this incel decided to slide right up and announced that he's openly homosexual to the Republican race. Grover, I think your ceiling is leaking cocaine. Ernie laughed as Natasha shrieked in right in agony. No doubt the parasite eggs he snuck into a bottle yesterday had hatched and the worms were chewing their way through her abdomen. Herb knows where you live. He knows what room you sleep in. And most of all, he knows how to make your anus dinosaur. Ernie and Cookie Monster had very different reactions to the drugs. Ernie simply developed the munchies and thought it was raining, but Cookie Monster began to see the real monsters. Ernie was happy with himself after he tricked Tyler into Zoom bombing his online class with hardcore midget porn. Ernie can't stop eating Doritos in his bed, and it got him in his pajamas, and it itched. As they pee in the 2 urinals next to each other, Kermit and Grover awkwardly try not to glance at each other's junk. Sick and tired of Cookie Monster eating his pot brownies, Ernie sets up the perfect trap. He sets up a camera to take a picture at the exact same time when Cookie Monster realizes that instead of eating Ernie's brownies, he was tricked into eating Oscar's feces. Elmo tuned out Abby as she explained that he shouldn't shove cantaloupe up his anus at the dinner table. Bert realized too late after coming home with the groceries that they had already filled the fridge the other day. Luckily, Ernie was hypothermic shock from all the ice cubes shoved up his ass, and thus would do as a makeshift freezer for the night. Bert and Ernie have a grand time hooking lookies and racial slurs at Chinatown residents passing by. Maybe next time they won't be ignored when asking for directions. Insomo was very excited when he received a confirmation email that his Japanese 6th wave would arrive within the next 2 to 4 days. While Sam enjoyed the piano piece, he wasn't so sure about the lyrics. Going both deep in the sheep was weird. He is not real, he can't hurt you, mumbled Ernie, pretending to be fast asleep, and yet every time he peeked, his sleep paralysis demon was still standing right in front of him. Charles ate and ate and ate until his stomach swells to the size of a beach ball. He could feel his insides tearing at the seam as his blood dripped from ulcers beneath his shirt. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't stop. He was no longer eating. He was shoving noodles down his gullet hand over fist and forcing them into his belly with a broom handle. He felt ready to explode. He would have preferred it. He was in the purest hell of unrelenting agony, but he couldn't freaking stop. As long as Elmo was still having fun. Bert and Ernie take a stroll through Japan's suicide forests, admiring the nice human ornaments on every tree. Natural decor. Ernie is mad that there are now My Little Pony novels. Ernie is mad about a lot of things. Bert finds himself attracted to Princess Celestia. Having finally watched enough InfoWars episodes, Elmo sees the world as it really is. Everyone wallows in negative ectoplasmic slime generated by the media, and reptoids are everywhere, ruling us all. It was at this moment Tully realized just how potent the cookies he just ate as he started smelling colors. Farmer Ernie says the only difference between a good meal and a good time is where you put the cucumber. Ernie began preparing a long night of taking foot photos for his OnlyFans. Santa explains to Elmo that he shouldn't call him a fat freaking elf piece of crap for not getting an anal blaster 3,000 for Christmas. Elmo had rented the finest hookers in Sesame Street for the night, and everything would have been fine until he remembered how often Grover used the N-word. As Ruth brushes against Kermit, the vertebrae proximity bonds implanted by his wife detonate, causing the poor frog to become a spineless amphibian. Big Bird moments before he sneezes the anti-vax kids into the fifth dimension. Ernie enters the furry convention in a clever disguise. Within minutes, he will begin shooting. Cookie Monster is tired of listening to Kermit's problems and shoves him off the highway overpass. Big Bird is caught within 200 feet of his school. High out of his demented yellow head, Bert decides to temporarily become a woman and trick Ernie into freaking him. Elmo was never the same after his visit to Chernobyl. "I was safe from you here," screamed Elmo as Big Bird crawled in. "Those were the rules! Those were the rules! I killed the rule makers," said Big Bird. Bert scans the book looking for a way to unsummon the demon, while Ernie stares, amazed at the amount of blood in a human body. "It's simple, Bert. We have to make it look like an accident." A furious Big Bird looks down at Grover with murderous intent as he realizes that he screwed up by disrupting Big Bird's sleep. Kelly thought he was hot crap flashing random gang signs at the thugs across the street. That is until one of them pulled out a .38 and busted a cap in Elmo right between the eyes. As for Elmo, the last thing to go through his mind, other than the bullet, was what a freaking idiot Telly was. Having sexually assaulted every single person in Sesame Street, Ernie decides that the last thing left to violate are the laws of physics. As Grover explained the letter of the day was V for Vinnigans, Elmo suddenly realized why Grover had brought them out to the middle of the desert. Elmo plays the radio out loud, hoping Bert would tell him to turn it down. But he knows he never will. Bert eagerly listens to Ernie's adventurous tale that consisted of hamsters, wrestlers, several Amazonian prostitutes, and a visit to the doctor. Ernie searches the Bible for more sins to commit. Elmo is very confused when the cow he gets his milk from reveals she's trans. Big Bird chuckles softly as Tully is banished to the Phantom Zone. Bert wishes Ernie would stop trying to pray away the gay every night after they make love. Elmo knows better than to question a man who just tore off half of his friend's head to wear as a hat. There's no place for weakness on the Sesame Street.